Hello, everybody. Once again, it's Ranger Mark Mello with the Blackstone River Valley National Historical Park, and I'd like to welcome you to our 7th Ranger Chat. Today marks an important anniversary in the labor history movement. On this date, 196 years ago, the strike of 1824 came to an end. This little-known moment in United States history was actually the first factory strike in the United States of America, was predominantly led by women, and happened all here in the Blackstone River Valley in the village of Pawtucket. We're going to begin today with a quote from the Pawtucket Journal, which appeared there in May of 1824. On Wednesday evening, a tumultuous crowd filled the streets, led by the most unprincipled and disorderly part of the village, and made an excessive noise. They visited successively the houses of manufacturers, shouting, exclaiming, and using every imaginable term of abuse and insult. The window in the yellow mill was broken in. The next day, the manufacturers shut their gates, and the mills have not run since. What prompted such a reaction? What had ignited the first factory strike in U.S. history in the village of Pawtucket, Rhode Island? We all know of Samuel Slater, the father of the American Industrial Revolution. He successfully started the first working water-powered textile manufacturing mill in the United States of America in 1790 along the banks of the Blackstone River at the Pawtucket Falls. Slater, utilizing the English system of manufacture, relied heavily upon child labor. Children were seen as an obedient and cheap source of labor. But by the 1820s, the face of labor in Rhode Island was changing. After the introduction of the power loom, more young women were introduced to the workforce. Children were not able to manipulate the newer, more powerful looms as easily as the spinning machines. So women ages 15 to 30 were brought in to operate this new technology. Following in the wake of the failed embargo acts and the post-war depression after the War of 1812, many small mills went out of business. For the first time, mill laborers were not in high demand. With a large pool of unemployed mill workers, mill owners made the decision to lower wages. If workers didn't like it, they could easily find a replacement. On May 24, 1824, the mill owners of Pawtucket decided to increase the working day by 1 hour, cutting into the break time of mill operatives, and to decrease the wage of power loom weavers by 25%. Power loom weavers were almost exclusively women, and mill owners felt as though these women were getting paid far more than they deserved. The mill owners jointly agreed to lower these women's wages, believing that they would passively accept this dictate from the owners. Boy, were they wrong. Discontent had been brewing in the village for decades. Individual workers had long expressed their rights to the mill owners. Being in such high demand, threats of not reporting to work kept owners at bay. Slater himself was forced to shut down his mills numerous times due to a shortage of labor. But by the 1820s, the tables had turned. With unemployed workers searching for jobs, the owners could impose their will. But these power loom weavers would not stand idle. The following day after the announcement, the women weavers of Pawtucket joined together and voted to not return to work unless their old wages were restored. They called it a turnout. The local community joined in. Their co-workers, men, women, and children, joined in support. Local farmers and mechanics also rose up in support of the young women. Over the next week, demonstrations ensued across the village. Mill owners' homes were targeted by bands of yelling and rock-throwing supporters. On May 27th, Judge George Jenks recorded in his diary, quote, "Josiah Mill's shop is literally filled with men, women, and children, making a mob of a very daring aspect, insulting the managers of cotton mills in every shape, pulling and hauling, screaming and shouting through the streets. But they have mostly now dispersed. What is to be next, the Lord only knows. Finally, on the night of June 1st, the cry, "Fire! Fire! Fire!" arose over the small mill village. One of the mills was ablaze. Although there was not substantial evidence to indicate arson, the fire was most likely ignited by striking workers. This was the moment that broke the backs of the mill owners. The following day, June 2nd, owners met to sketch out a solution. A resolution was reached between the owners and the workers, although the details of that agreement are not known. Unfortunately, no documents from the striking workers survived, so these women remain anonymous to history. This first strike in United States history, led by a group of women, provoked unrest in other mill communities. Later strikes in Lowell, Massachusetts and Woonsocket, Rhode Island followed in the wake of this first critical event. Although one must be careful not to overstate the success of this first event, it was the first time that factory workers had activated to address unfair working conditions. This group of 102 young women ignited the workers' rights movement, which still continues to this day, to work for equal pay and safe and fair working conditions. With that, everybody, thank you once again for joining us here. We've been doing this for 7 weeks, so we will continue to do it into the future, as long as we have to continue to social distance. As always, if you have any ideas for upcoming weeks of topics you'd like to see, leave those in the comments below. We'd love to hear from you. And as always, stay safe, stay healthy, and we'll see you out there along the Blackstone really soon.